Back in 2019, God, that seems so fucking long ago, mere weeks after debuting on Turner Network Television, AEW presented their last pay-per-view of that calendar year, Full Gear. And it was a pretty well-received show. And then the next year, it was a pandemic. But then they were back out on the road in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Mere month after Wrestle Dream 2024. I was there. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for killing my stay as a live event market. But don't worry, folks. This year's event is taking place in Newark, New Jersey. 13 matches. 13 matches. Yay! Let's talk about it, why don't we? I'm John Redland with my AEW Full Gear 2025 predictions. Let me know your predictions in the comments, please. Much like I said in the beginning of my Dynamite review, yes, I'm doing these right after said Dynamite review. So these will show up at some point. By the way, quick mention about some upcoming videos. Depending on when you watch this, you may see a Wicked for Good review. You may see a review of Sentimental Value, featuring one of my favorite actors, Renate Reinsve. I think that's how you say it, Reinsve? She's Norwegian. I always get it wrong. She's such a terrific actress. And also, I'm going to have ones of The Rental Family and various other movies because I'm almost at 300 movies. And then I'm going to soar towards 337. Actually, it's going to be 338 just to eclipse the record that I had last year. 337, by the way. So yeah, that mention out of the way. Let's get to the pre-show. Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall. Boom and Doom. It's kind of fitting for this fucking team against Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta. I mean, I don't know why I necessarily find this just ridiculous, but it is where the Boom, Costco, AJ family resides, or at least they reside somewhere in Jersey. I don't know if it's Newark specifically. People like them. I don't get it. Crowd's going to pop for it. AJ and QT will win. So, we then go to Caster and Bowens, not the Acclaimed. They're going to force feed this goddamn thing, though. They are going to force them back together. Because, God, they just gave up on Bowens altogether as a single star. But they are taking on the Gang Bang, which is Juice and Austin. Austin Gunn, that is. As well as Big Bill and Keith. And the Outrunners, you son of a bitch. It's a $200,000 four-way, a $200K four-way. I don't know who's going to win this. It's probably going to end up being Caster and Bowens for no reason, but I hope it's Juice and Austin. Actually, I wouldn't mind the Outrunners winning. I don't want Bill and Keith to win it, because I really just don't care about them as a team. I know Jericho's pretty much out the goddamn door and is going to be back in WWE at the Rumble, more than likely, but that doesn't mean I have to care about them as a team. So I'll just go with Juice and Austin for the win. Outrunners winning would be cool, though. So, Mascara Dorada, Mystico, and Neon, whoever that is. I know Neon Studios. I don't think this is a studio wrestling. I don't actually think that a full studio could fit inside that arena, but I digress. Taking on Okada, Takeshita, and Hechicero. The CMLL Trios Championship match. I have Okada, Takeshita, and Hechicero winning, but honestly, I can see a miscommunication where Hechicero takes the pin. So, I can definitely see the heels winning, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to flip it. CMLL guys will get the victory because Okada and Takeshita will have too much tension, which sounded a lot less dirty in my head, but moving on. So, yeah, the faces will win. And nothing will develop between Takeshita and Okada. This is not a slow simmer. This is like forgetting to turn on the burner. I'm not really interested in them eventually clashing. Like, I was for a bit. It's not even a lack of, patience. I don't mind slow burn, but Okada hasn't cared about too many matches since he's gotten to AEW. I don't blame him because he hasn't been given a ton. But Takeshita is the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion and is going to defend against... Is it Yota Tsuji at the Dome? I have not actually paid that much attention to New Japan. So, there we go. The faces will win because of miscommunications. So let's get to Statlander and Mercedes for the AEW Women's Championship. Now, I have a very, very good friend, one that I respect dearly, and you know who you are, that has said that Mercedes will not win. It'll be, oh, she can collect all these titles, but she can't win the big one, and then she'll eventually spiral and lose all this stuff. And then they'll have to rebuild her as a face, and then she'll eventually win it. And by the way, to that person, should you happen to be watching this at any point when you are able to, it's not a bad idea, and in fact, it's a pretty sound idea. It just would require me to care about Mercedes as a face. But the way you laid it out is absolutely fine, and actually would be the proper way to build it. I unfortunately think Mercedes is going to win because I don't trust them to actually do the right thing. And even if Statlander wins here, I don't trust that they won't go right to World's End and have Mercedes win there, because I don't think that Tony Khan actually understands that Mercedes is pretty much poison for the women's division. Like, I don't see her as, I'm not saying she's like, a poison pill, but she hasn't helped nearly as much, I think, as she thinks she has. Because I don't want to listen to her promos. I barely want to see her wrestle. Many have already seen her box, but I digress. So I think unfortunately Mercedes is going to win. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope my friend's right. So, Jon Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly, no holds barred. I unfortunately fear that Moxley is going to win, because I would care about this spiral, I would care about him losing, if O'Reilly actually, honest to God, wasn't featured like a joke for so many months, and most of the time that he was in AEW. I'm not saying he was featured all that great in NXT either. At times he was presented like a bit of a joke too. But he's near 40. His best days are behind him. He's still in really good shape, but he's coming off of a bad neck. They really should have given this to Briscoe, in all honesty, and they should have built Briscoe up. More on him in a bit. O'Reilly could win, and people might react, but the Death Rider stuff is going to continue because Tony Khan won't let this end. And the fact that he has not just said, you know what, Blood and Guts needs to be the end, you lose, the Death Riders disband. But no, he doesn't even have the guts to do that. So, I unfortunately think Moxley will win. Now, O'Reilly could win, and great if he does. It's just not going to lead to anything. Which is sad, because I like O'Reilly. Bandito took on FTR, or it's taking on FTR rather. It's for the AEW tag titles. I think I have Brodito winning for this reason. Because I think Copeland and Cage are going to return. They're going to cause a distraction, and we're going to have that blow off. Now, FTR could win, and then we could go right to a tag title match for that, but if they don't do it at World's End, then we have to wait till Revolution, and I'm sorry, as much as I like Cash, as much as I like Dax, they're good follows on Twitter. I thought this association with Stokely would work. It has actually made me not want to watch an FTR match at all. And that's sad because FTR is really fucking good. But I think Brodito's going to win because I think Copeland's going to return here. If FTR wins, great. I don't really see how it matters. So the Omega Express, Kenny Omega and Jurassic Express taking on the Bucks and Alexander. The Bucks and Josh Alexander, that is. It's a $1 million six-man. I don't care. The Omega Express. Because they're going to continue this whole thing where the Bucks are, going to be all upset. They're all despondent. And they have to join the Callis family. But then something will happen where they'll turn face and just, it doesn't matter. This being the elite stuff was terrible in 2018. And now less and less people care about them. So Omega Express are going to win, I guess. I mean, it's probably going to go 25 minutes, and Rick Knox, unfortunately, is still going to be upright. So, Casino Gauntlet for the National Championship. I don't know who all is in this, except I didn't get a list. I don't care really about a list. I know Lashley and Shelton are the first two. I imagine Ricochet is going to be in it. I imagine Speedball is going to be in it, assuming Speedball has his brain still attached, because I looked a little vicious against Shelton, and I'm not knocking Speedball. He looked a little bit knocked out. I'll go with Shelton winning. They could end up, somebody had suggested Mystico. It's possible Mystico could. Thing is, though, is yes, it's on the pre-show, but that having him work twice, I mean, if somebody is going to have this championship represent AEW in another company, okay, then maybe you could give it to Mystico, but otherwise, what else are you going to do? You can't give it to Ishii because he's got a bad shoulder or whatever. He can't have a bad neck because he didn't have a neck. So, Shelton. Excellent question, Shelton. But it could be Mystico. It could be somebody from New Japan. Who the hell knows? Somebody that else that Tony Khan wants. Fletcher versus Briscoe. Fletcher's TNT Championship on the line. Briscoe loses. He joins the Callis family. I really hope Briscoe wins. I just fear that he's not going to win. Because I fear that Tony Khan is not going to know what the fuck to do here. He's going to piss off the people. He's basically going to make it where, they're going to really get behind Briscoe, and then maybe he's going to win his Freedom of Revolution. The problem is I don't trust Tony Khan to book stuff properly like that. And I've seen shit like this done before. In WCW, and yes, in the Attitude Era and stuff like that, when way more people were watching. Thing is, I watch a lot more AEW now than I watch WWE. And AEW has pretty much just pushed me towards not wanting to watch them anymore. So, I get to the end of this year and I'm reassessing what I do. But before that, I think I have Fletcher winning, unfortunately. I don't want it to be the case. That's what I got. Darby and Pac. Darby, please, for the love of God, put Yuta out there and have him coffin drop Yuta, and have him coffin drop Garcia, have him coffin drop Shafir while they're at. Have the kids there so the kids can watch their mommy get beat up, because that's what those kids deserve. Is that harsh? Yeah, probably, but I don't care. If they were smart, they would just, again, end the Death Riders. Pac, by the way, can barely move because he's blown up with a goddamn air hose. Willow and Harley, the Babes of Wrath, take on the Sisters of Sin, Julia and Sky. They take on the Timeless Love Bombs, Tony and Mina. And they take on the team of, Thing 1 and Thing 2, Bane and Shafir. The winning team, by the way, of this four-way can select the stipulation for their semifinal match. They didn't gimmick this up too much, did they? Sisters of Sin, I don't know. I don't care. You're putting Bane and Shafir in a goddamn match where Bane is going to have to be the expert worker here, and Shafir can't do anything. And then Hangman versus Joe. World title steel cage match. I would love to see Samoa Joe as world champion again. That's why Hangman's going to win. Nothing even against Hangman. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. That's all I have to say for predictions. So let me know your predictions in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin. Until I see you at Full Gear, happy trails to you.